Hi guys! So, this is Tiffany here, and I figured today, while I am kneeling on my dining room floor, that I would talk about Japanese addresses. This confused me a lot while I was studying abroad, and it confused me 2 years ago when I had first come, because it's very different from American addresses. So I figured I would explain it really quickly according to my knowledge and a little bit of research. So here's a bit of a flash guide on how to handle Japanese addresses. So it looks like I've got these addresses here, and this is focused in. This is actually based on the Daiso that is located in Harajuku. So first you see the little T, and the T refers to the postal code. I do remember us joking in class about if you had just written the postal code on a piece of mail, it actually might get to where you wanted it to go. Obviously, I believe there's a little more specification needed in that, but regardless. Afterwards is Tokyo To. So to comes with this kind of kanji. Usually actually it ends in ken. So there are plenty of kens that you can see. For example, Chiba ken, and it actually refers to the prefecture. The prefecture is a very large location within the country of Japan. Actually, only a few prefectures don't have ken, and that is actually Tokyo, which has to instead, Osaka, Kyoto, and after that is, I believe, Hokkaido, because they have fu, and do, respectively. Afterwards is Shibuya-ku. So Shibuya is actually special in Tokyo's case because it is a ward, but it's a big enough ward to be considered a municipality. But usually there is a municipality and it ends in shi. For example, Chiba-ken actually has a shi inside of it called Chiba. So it's, in American standards, it would be Chiba, Chiba. It's Chiba-shi, Chiba-ken. But in this case, since Shibuya is so large, they actually have a special word for it, and it's actually called ku. Usually ku actually is smaller and goes after shi. So there would be something like something shi, Shibuya-ku. But Shibuya, like I said, is special. So Shibuya gets its own, and it's called Shibuya-ku. Ku's kanji is this one. So after Shibuya-ku comes Jingu-mae. Oh, I forgot to mention, Shibuya is also, for example, another area inside of Tokyo too. Jingu-mae is actually another, even smaller area inside Shibuya-ku. And inside that small area is a bunch of even smaller areas, and they're usually referred to as chome. And for example, this is ichome, and then there's a bunch of numbers afterwards. If you want to search up the Daiso address, you can find it yourself, but I replaced it with X's for now. If you see here, there's actually no Harajuku in here anywhere, despite the fact that I said this is the Daiso Harajuku. Harajuku actually is referred to as a specific district within Jingu-mae. And if I'm correct, I think it's the 1st through 4th chome in Jingu-mae. But usually if you ever see an address on Google, for example, they'll never say something is in Harajuku. They'll always say it's in Jingu-mae. So that's an important thing to consider. And I've actually had a lot of friends who get confused because, for example, in Harajuku's case, it'll be in Harajuku, Shibuya. And some people will be like, but this is in Shibuya. We're not in Harajuku. And then I'll be like, well, Harajuku is actually inside of Shibuya. So that's something really important to keep in touch with. Oftentimes you'll have something called cho, and usually it belongs here next to Jingu-mae. For example, when I lived with my host family, they actually stayed in a place that ended with cho. And that actually refers to a town. I believe it could be considered the equivalent of, I guess, a town or a village within ku. And ku, which is the ward. Usually, like I said before, it'll start with something in ken, then something in shi, something in ku, and then something in, for example, cho. But usually, cho is not always going to be there. Sometimes they'll just have normal names for it without actually the cho kanji in it at all. So there are lots of exceptions in Japanese addressing, so it's really hard to get through every single one of them. In terms of if you're looking for things in Tokyo, this is actually pretty frequently how it works. Japanese addresses also go big to small, but if you search on Google in English, for example, they'll often give you the address small to big because that's how American formatting works, and you can actually just plug it into Google Maps. As to how to find things, my personal bet is actually just to use Google Maps when I need to, and if I've memorized the area, usually I'll find something within time. So that's a little debriefing on how it works, how Japanese addresses work. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I'll have a video up soon about how I'm dealing with being back in America. See you guys later.